He turned around to Frankie DeCicco and he says, Frankie, are you listening to this, bro? He could be walking around with a friend of ours. Frankie DeCicco looked at him in the eye and said, you heard him. We don't give a fuck who he's with. It's not just Sammy who's going to kill him. We're going to kill him. And whoever the fuck he's with.
Cool. So we'll start off with the Colombos, and we might not do it in any particular order, but these are all guys who've been allegedly associated with being in the family's administration. So when you were started off as a Colombo associate, the boss of the family was, of course, Joe Colombo. Did you have any interactions with him at all?
I had a few. Before that, before Joe Colombo, there was Profaci.
Yeah, and then Magliocco.
The whole war started with Profaci. The Colombo family were scheming and talking about a war. The Gallos was Larry Gallo was a captain. Carmine Persico was a captain. Joe Colombo was a captain. There was different captains that were pooling together to kill him, Profaci, and take it over. Carmine Persico went to Profaci and told him about this plot because he was afraid that the Gallows would do this and try to take him out. But whatever his reasoning was, he went to Profaci. And Profaci told him, for you to know all this information, you must have been part of this plot. And he said, no, I wasn't. The old-timer wasn't fooled that easily. So he said, well, if you weren't part of the plot, then you have the contract to wipe out the Gallows. That started the Gallows war between Carmine Persico and the Gallows.
So in terms of your interactions with Joe Colombo when he eventually took over and you were an associate, what did you think of the guy?
I thought he was a great guy. I thought he was a good guy. I had a bunch of things with him. One day, a shorty grabbed me and said, my boss in the Colombo family was Shorty Spiro. He was one of Carmine Persico's top guys. And he came to me and said, Sammy, Joe Colombo wants to see you. What did you do? I says, I don't know. I don't know what I did. And I went on 86th Street near real estate where he used to hang out with Shorty Spiro. And he came out and he told me, you guys did a robbery the other night, didn't you? And I said, yes, a men's store. And he said, the guy is a friend of mine. I know you're selling some of the stuff. You got to give everything back. And I said, okay. I went back to my guys, my friends, and I said, listen, when we robbed the men's store, the guy is a friend of Joe Colombo, and they want us to return everything. And some of the guys, we were sick about it, but they said, we sold some of the clothes. I don't care what we did. Go to whoever you sold the clothes to, give them the money back, get the clothes back. We have to return everything. We did that. And a little while after that, Shorty said that Joe Colombo wanted to see me again. And I went down there. And he said, Sammy, I spoke to my man. You gave back everything. Nothing was missing, not even a shirt. And I said, no, we had sold some of the stuff. We went it back to the people we sold it. We gave them their money back. We took the clothes back. They got everything. He says, and I know that. That's a good job. He says, I like what you did. He said, but here's what I did. I told my friend, did you report this robbery to the police and the insurance? He said, yes. So he said, the insurance money you're going to get. you're not going to make a score. You got all the stuff back, and then you're going to get the insurance money. I want half of the insurance money to give to those kids. They were out robbing. They did the right thing. I want the money to go to them. He had it in an envelope, and he gave me the money. So I said, okay, thank you so much. And I'll take something out. How much, I'll take part of it out for you. He said, no, I don't need no money. I don't want no money. You guys put up your balls. You went out and stole. But I didn't want my friend to benefit on just because, he knew me and I got him back the stuff. So you keep the money, you and your friends. I thought that was a very honorable thing. I went back to my friends. We loved him for that, for what he did. We understood that, we had to bring it back, and he gave us the money back. So I thought the world of him. I don't remember anything bad. I had a fight with his sons a long time ago, and he called me in for that. I beat up the young one, Joseph Colombo Jr., in an argument over a girl in a movie theater. He went and get his older brother, Anthony. He came down, and I beat the shit out of him, too. And then I got called in by Joe Colombo. Okay. And he asked me about the fight. And I said, yeah, I had a fight with two guys, two brothers. And he said, do you know who they are? I said, no, not really. And he said, they're my sons. I almost melted in the chair. He said, but you didn't know who they were? No. He said, they're pretty tough kids and you beat both of them up. He said, you know who they are now, right? Yeah. Would you fight with them again? No. No, absolutely not. I wouldn't have fought with them if I would have known they were your sons. And it was, just a bullshit fight. He says, you must be pretty good with your hands. Yeah, and left. So he was pretty fair, I found him to be. And then I did my first hit in the Colombo Family, and it was orders from him that came down to Carmine Persico, went to Shorty. Shorty got me, Shorty Spiro, and I did that hit with my guys. And whenever I would drive Shorty down to see Joe Colombo, I would always stay a half a block away by the car, just wait, never approach the boss. After the hit, he called me and he said, Sammy, from here on out, don't stand by the car. Come down here with Shorty, walk right over, shake my hand. You can listen to what we're talking about, keep your mouth shut, and you're allowed to come and just walk over and shake my hand. And that's a big deal with a boss. So I found that everything he did, as far as I was concerned, or things I saw, he was really a good guy. Now, he became the boss because during the Gallo war with Carmine Persico, the Gallos grabbed Joe Colombo. He was on Persico's side. They put him in the basement. They were going to kill him. Joe Colombo told the Gallos, treat me like a fucking man, shoot me in the head and throw me in the streets. Don't fucking jerk around with me. Yeah. Larry Gallo liked that, and he let him go. He didn't want to kill him. He let him go. So when they wanted to stop the war, Carlo Gambino got involved to stop the war. And his pick to become the boss of the Colombo family to stop it was Joe Colombo. Of course, Carmine Persico agreed that he could be the boss because they were tight. Larry Gallo said, we liked the way he conducted himself when he was with us, and he'll never forget we let him go. So they agreed. And that's how Joe Colombo became the boss.
Because historically speaking, there's also the story that Joe Bonanno and I think it was Joe Magliocco were plotting to kill Carlo Gambino and Tommy Lucchese, and that it was Joe Colombo who tipped off Gambino and Lucchese about this. Again, it put him in Gambino's favor, Joe Colombo. Anyway, so moving forward into the 70s, So obviously Colombo was shot and obviously I think remained incapacitated for another 8 years until he died. Um, Persico goes to prison, and everyone assumes that he would be the boss, but he was in prison. And Thomas DeBella was named as boss. Did you know much about Tommy DeBella?
Yeah, yeah. He, Carmine Persico put him in. He was a boss, but he took orders from Carmine
Yeah.
Persico. I know about it because I was taught, one time I was told about a shooting. Somebody in the Genovese crime family was shot. There was Carmine Sessa, who was in the Colombo family, was one of the shooters, and a guy named Nicky Cowboy, who I knew him as a kid growing up. He was in a different gang, but I knew him good part of my life, and he had come to me and said, "Sammy, they're going to sit down about this shooting. They shot the guy. They put him in a trunk. He didn't die. He lived. His eye was blown out. He was a little fucked up, but they were going to dump the weight on him to the Genovese." So Tom DeBella was going to sit down for Carmine Sessa. Nicky Cowboy didn't have anybody to sit down for him. I was made at that time, and I agreed to sit down for him. So when I went to their club,
So was this in the late 70s? Was this in the late 70s or early 80s? Yeah.
late 70s, I got made in 76.
Yeah.
And Tom DeBella was there. Donnie Shax was there. And I said, I know the guy all my life. He's with me. He's my friend. And you guys are talking for Carmine Sessa. I want to be able to talk for him. So we did. That happened. We saved Carmine Sessa and Nicky Cowboy. The guy who was shot lived. I mean, he was fucked up a little bit, but he was alive. We apologized, that we didn't know that he was with the Genovese people. He was not a made guy. He was a sports guy. He would take numbers and sports bets and turn it over to them. He was with them, but he wasn't a major player. So the whole thing was squashed. And so I was introduced to Tom DeBella at that meeting. And I already knew Donnie Shax because I was originally with the Colombo family. I never knew him, the other guy, DeBella. But I know he was more of a puppet. When Carmine Persico got out of prison, he completely stepped down right away, and Carmine took over.
So to cover another couple of people who are less often discussed, do you know much about Vinnie Aloi and his brother Benny Aloi? Their father was, I think, Sebastian Buster Aloi, who was these are Colombo guys.
Yes. I didn't know the father. I heard of the father, Buster, but I never knew him. But I did know Vinnie Aloi and Benny Aloi when there was a plot to get rid of Carmine Persico. And when Carmine Persico was in prison, he appointed, I believe it was...
Is this when he went in prison in 85 for the commission stuff, 86? Or was this when he was in prison in the 70s?
I believe that was...
In the 80s?
In the 80s. Yeah, I believe this was in the 80s. And he appointed, he's in jail. I think he's dying in prison. Vicamuso or...
Vicarina.
Vicarina. He appointed him the acting boss while he was away. Carmine Persico did. And he sent the message into the commission. The commission recognized that he was the acting boss. There was arguments and stuff like that, and he wanted to take him down. The commission said no.
Third Colombo War, that's right.
Yes, the commission said no. You can't appoint a guy a boss every other fucking week. Once you appointed him a boss and we accepted that he knows our secrets, he's sitting with us. We're not going to deal with your fucking, you want to take him down and put a guy in 3 weeks later or a month later. So it created a war. Carmine Persico wanted to take him out. And he found out. And their sides started to build up. Vinnie Aloi went on Vic's side. And that's how the war started. They didn't get to Vinnie Aloi or Benny Aloi. They didn't get killed. So the war went on for quite a while, but Carmine Persico's side won the war. There was a lot of things done in that war. All kinds of stuff was happening. They actually shot a guy, a legitimate guy, in a restaurant one time. He was a look-alike for Alley Boy Persico Sr. And they thought they saw him. They called some guys right away. They went, they shot him. He looked just like Alley Boy Sr. It really wasn't him. And there was a big hoo-ha about that.
You made an interesting point earlier where you said that Persico had a lot of acting bosses from that period when he was incarcerated in the 80s. If we can touch on a few of them. So obviously Gerry Langella was one such guy. Did you know Gerry Lang well?
Very well. You know, I was involved in the second war when Crazy Joe Gallo, Larry Gallo was already dead. Crazy Joe Gallo got out. Joe Colombo was the boss already, and everything was determined. When he got out, he wanted certain territories.
Yeah.
And I think Joe Colombo said, no, you're not going to dictate to me. And the war started again. You know, it ended, the first war ended. This is the second part of that war. Yeah. I was with them. I was called in. Shorty Spiro says, there's going to be a meeting, come in. And I went into this meeting and they said, Sammy, if you got a girlfriend, get rid of her. If you got a job, get rid of it. We're going to hit the mattresses. Back then, I didn't even know what that meant. So I said, what do you mean, hit the mattresses? And they said, this is the second part of the war with the Gallos. There's the Gallos on one side, and there's us on the other side. You're with us. You're going to eat, sleep, and shit with us. And we're going to kill them, or they're going to try and kill us. I said, there's a few people who owe me money. Forget that. You won't need money. You won't need anything. We'll take care of you. And I was like a little thrown back by all of that. And they said, listen, you're confused. Here's what's going on. We are a pack of wolves, and we're going to kill them. They're a pack of wolves, and they're going to try and kill us. They know who we are. We know who they are. I'm going to give you an example. You got your little girlfriend. You're going to want to go see her. Their spotters will see you. Every Tuesday, you can go and get laid. Nice. You come out, you're happy, and you come back to us. One of those Tuesdays, you'll come out of that room. They'll know you were there. They'll be waiting outside. When you come out, you're going to get your head blown off. So when they explained it that way, I completely understood it. So I was down in the trenches with them. And of course, I got to know all of them.
So that's when you got to know Gerry Lang well?
Yeah, Gerry Lang, Donnie Shacks, I knew them all. McIntosh was one of their main shooters. He was an Irish guy. Wasn't a made guy, but he was one of the top shooters. And Shorty Spiro was one of the main shooters, and he was there too. So, and I was part of that. So I got to know them all.
What do you remember about Andrew Mush Russo? I think he was Persico's cousin.
I got to know him. He was his cousin. I had a very bad beef with him over a guy who was being proposed by them who killed Stymie. A guy was with me.
Yes, I remember you saying, yeah.
Yeah, I told that story. If you want me to say it again, I'll say it again.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, but we had a meeting, and Paul Castellano sent me and Frankie DeCicco down to talk with Andrew Mush. It's his cousin. He was the acting boss while Junior was away again. And he wanted 90. He wanted me to hold up on the hit. I wanted to kill this guy. And he wanted me to hold up on the hit because the guy owed him $90,000, so he could collect the $90,000. And I said, "You're worried about $90,000?" Frankie was supposed to do all the talking, because I was hot. Paul knew that. And he told me, "Don't talk. Let Frankie talk." But I couldn't help it. I said, "You worried about the $90,000? I lost my brother. This scumbag killed my brother." And I said, I'll tell you what. Give me him, and I'll give you the $90,000. And he had said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to kill him. And I'm going to chop his fucking body in about 20 fucking pieces, and I'm going to put it all over Brooklyn. So everybody knows that if you kill one of my people, that's what's going to happen to you." He said, "Sammy, we got him hidden in a house with legitimate people." I said, "I don't really give a fuck who he's with or where he is. Soon as I find him, I'm going to kill him. And I don't give a fuck who he's with." He turned around to Frankie DeCicco and he says, "Frankie, are you listening to this, bro? He could be walking around with a friend of ours." Frankie DeCicco looked at him in the eye and said, "You heard him. We don't give a fuck who he's with. It's not just Sammy who's going to kill him. We're going to kill him. And whoever the fuck he's with, you heard him." And he left. They killed him on a sneak and buried him in Staten Island on a beach. Later on, I did time with the guys who were there when he was killed and the guys who buried him. And they had told me Greg Scarpa Jr., he had him in some legitimate guy's house. The people weren't home. He called the kid out, shot him in the chest. When he went down, this guy, Mario Paolo Greco, was strangling him to finish it off. And Mario Paolo Greco and a few guys are the guys who buried him on the street. I did time with the guy. He told me while we were doing time. He said, "Sammy, they don't want to give you the satisfaction of doing what you wanted to do." And so that's what I knew about Andrew Mush. He was a hard-on to me. That's the way I look at him. And I know a lot of guys. I heard Michael Franchise tell a story about him. I don't think Michael Franchise liked him either, and he was in the same family with him. He really wasn't well-liked. But he was a guy, he had a lot of entertainment people with him. And I think he's the guy who brought down James Caan to play Sonny in The Godfather. And he brought him down so that Carmine Persico could give his blessings. It was a fucking act, basically. He blessed him. Yes, you're going to have the part. He was going to get the part anyway. But he made it like it was owed to him. And then somebody became somebody's godfather, whether it was James Caan to him.
I heard Andrew Mish Russo was James Caan's son Scott's godfather.
Okay, so that's who it was, yes. And they were actually proved that was related. Plus, he thought they got him the part. And they actually did put some pressure on it because they did have connections in that movie.